Congress hasn't passed more comprehensive stimulus legislation since the CARES Act in March, and many of the protections that came with it have been scaled back or expired. So what's holding up the legislation?
The holdup with stimulus is the same disagreement that has been there since March, essentially. And it boils down to Republicans, kind of under the leadership of Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell, want a smaller package. They want it to be targeted. They don't want any provisions that they see as kind of unrelated to the coronavirus pandemic to be in the bill. Their most recent offer was somewhere around the $500 billion range. And then on the other side of the spectrum, you have Democrats led by Nancy Pelosi who are pushing for a big package, multi-trillion dollars. Her most recent offer was worth about $2.2 trillion, and that's more than $1 trillion smaller than her original offer. So she wants a big piece of sweeping legislation and says, I'm not going to budge on that. And Republicans say, well, we're not going to vote for anything that's bigger than we want it to be. And so that's the impasse, and they haven't been able to get around it yet.
There's more than just money holding up the negotiations. Democrats, Republicans, and the White House remain far apart on key issues, including funding for schools, federal unemployment insurance supplements, liability protections for businesses, and state and local aid. Now, with McConnell likely to take full control of the Republican reins on stimulus, the next bill has two paths forward. Lawmakers could try to pass it in a lame duck session while Trump is still president and Democrats have a more decisive majority in the House, or they can wait until January, after President-elect Biden is sworn in and a January runoff election in Georgia for 2 Senate seats has determined which party will control that chamber.
I think most folks, even though, lawmakers are saying we want it immediately, I think most experts are saying it's more likely that we'll have it after January, especially because, the Senate and the House will be focused over the next 6 weeks on funding the government. There's a huge deadline coming up on December 11th for lawmakers to agree on the federal budget to keep the doors open, to keep the lights on, to keep federal agencies running, and that is going to be priority number one ahead of stimulus over the next couple weeks.
And both McConnell and Pelosi have called for a new omnibus spending bill, not another continuing resolution that simply keeps the government funded temporarily.
Senate Republicans this week released kind of their opening offer for that omnibus spending bill, and COVID relief was not included in it. Democrats were immediately, up in arms about the lack of money for coronavirus in there. So that kind of remains to be seen. I think it's too early to speculate on, where those negotiations are going to go.